Hey everybody, it's Chamber Matt from the South Kitsap Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our 2023 general election candidate interviews. There are 9 races happening in the South Kitsap area, 5 for the city of Port Orchard, and 3 for the South Kitsap School Board, and 1 for South Kitsap Fire and Rescue. The South Kitsap School District will also have a capital bond on the ballot in November. As part of the series, we reached out to all 18 candidates several times to schedule an interview. All but 3 of the candidates responded. We asked all the candidates in each race the same questions, and none of the candidates had the questions in advance. I let the candidates answer the questions as best they could. I then spliced together the interviews so that you could have a side-by-side comparison. Big disclaimer here, I am not a professional editor. We did these interviews on Zoom, so please be patient with my editing. The Chamber will also be hosting an information forum for the school bond on October 11th at 5:30 p.m. upstairs at Whiskey Gulch, and a candidate meet and greet on October 26th, also at 5:30 at Whiskey Gulch. Come on out, meet the candidates, and hear about the school bond. Ballots should come out sometime around October 20th, and they are due back to the ballot box by November 7th. Thanks for watching. Remember to vote and make an informed decision. Hey everybody, it's Chamber Matt, and I am currently joined by Mark Trenary, who is running for Port Orchard City Council, rerunning for Port Orchard City Council. He has previously served 2 years as the at-large position, and now he's moving into a 4-year position. You know, the city of Port Orchard is divided up into districts, but are they called districts?
Not really. Technically, no, we don't have districts, but we have positions.
Okay, positions. So, you know, there's different positions, but it doesn't matter because everybody in the city of Port Orchard votes for all the city council people. So you'll all have an opportunity to vote for Mark coming up on the November 9th ballot. Mark, welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Mike.
A lot of good things happening in the city of Port Orchard. And so I just kind of wanted to run down a few questions. None of them are particularly hard-stopping questions, but they're kind of designed to compare and contrast candidates and, you know, what their knowledge levels are and, you know, what their solutions to some of the problems are. So unless you have any objections, let's just go ahead and roll into this.
No, let's rock and roll.
All right. So first question. Mark, you've done these interviews with me once before, a couple of years ago. So, you know, the first question is just to tell us about yourself and why you decided to run for city council and, you know, how do you think you can help the community?
So we're answering the same question we did 2 years ago?
Yep, same question 2 years ago. Different crowd, same question.
All right, well, you know, longtime resident here, 40 plus years, business owner for the last, I want to say 27 years now locally here in town. Raised my kids here, plan to live here for many more years. Involved in community service projects, involved in the South Kitsap Rotary, past president of the South Kitsap Rotary, board member on the WAGS group, a fundraising group that raises money for children and school projects, teacher school projects. Sit on several boards, nonprofit boards here in town. Also, one of the things I'm actually really most proud of is I've been handling the sales and installation of memorial benches along our waterfront pathway since we started that program about 3 years ago. And that's been really a gratifying project, not only for myself, but for those people and families who wish to memorialize their longtime citizens here in the city of Port Orchard. So that's a little bit about me. Raised 2 girls here that are now old, and I've got grandkids. My grandson played his first high school football game last night, so that was kind of cool. But that's a little bit about myself.
All right, thanks, Mark. So next part here it's a 2-part question. I want to ask you and it's about the Growth Management Act, and the Growth Management Act is something that a lot of people don't fully understand. And so, first of all, first part of the question is tell us about the Growth Management Act, just as best you can in your words, in layman's words, not in the official RCW words, but in layman's words, what's the Growth Management Act do?
Um, now, this is my opinion on this. It forces us as a city to grow in certain areas and not grow in other areas. It forces density, to make long and short of it.
Okay. All right. And I think that that's probably a good summation of it. I've been doing 8 of these interviews, and nobody gives me the same answer, but they all boil down to the fact that it is a state mandated requirement to control the density and the locations of where growth is supposed to take place. So given that definition, in your words, that your definition and in the definition that I kind of just gave, can you kind of explain what the role of the Growth Management Act has in the planning and development within the city of Port Orchard? And then, what can the city do to speed up the infrastructure needs?
So, because the state using the Growth Management Act has required us to grow in certain areas, I mean, that the first answer is pretty self-explanatory. We have to develop in certain areas of the city, and we have to require that the developers look to develop those areas. We really don't have that much what I would consider open sprawl area in our city anyways. Of course, the west side, McCormick Woods side, is where a majority of the growth is happening, and that's by purpose. The McCormick Woods area was planned out I believe in the early 80s, and due to various economic issues and concerns over the years, it just didn't happen. And boy, it's been happening the last several years now, and is continuing to happen. But that's, that has to do with the economy and the fact that people have found out that we live in a pretty special place. And so they're developing our area, and people are moving here. Now, one of the issues that I have with the Growth Management Act is it does put a lot of pressure on your infrastructure, and some of it, since they're requiring us to build in more density in previously built-in areas, it puts a lot of pressure on older portions of our infrastructure, be it water, be it septic, sewer, be it even stormwater, and quite frankly, roads. And so we have a lot of challenges when it comes to keeping up with the development when and where the growth management is requiring us to build.
All right, cool. Thank you. So shifting gears a little bit, nationwide, countywide, statewide, citywide, we have issues. We have homelessness. We have increasing public safety issues. There is the lack of affordable housing, infrastructure needs, increased development, inflation, higher gas prices, higher taxes across the board. What should the priorities of the city be, and how would you address those? So I guess I said priorities as in plural, but maybe what is the kind of the most important thing that the city is facing right now?
Well, I think the most important thing that we're facing is traffic flow issues. We're seeing it currently with the state roundabout that's going on down at 166 by Kentucky Fried Chicken, the 76 station downtown. we only have three entrances into and through our city, and that's 166 along the water, that's Sedgwick, and that's Tremont. And when you take away 1/3 of your pass-throughs, entrances into the city, it creates a lot more traffic on the other two hubs that are left. And we're seeing that. And it's frustrating for all of us. I drive all three of those roads multiple times a day. And so I'm very aware of it. So traffic flow, I think, is our number one concern and issue. We've also got, those are primarily east-west transports. We've also got the north-south with Bethel, and the city is in the process of several stages of improvements on Bethel, which will improve traffic flow as well. So traffic flow is probably my number one, followed closely behind public safety. We've just recently brought our police force back up to the numbers that we had prior to COVID coming into place. So we're gaining ground and getting enough officers in our police force. We need to continue to do better and grow that the employment of more police officers. Public safety we're somewhat hands tied with that for what we can and can't do any longer, which is very frustrating for all of us. Public property or private property issues can't be prosecuted like they used to be. Very frustrating. But we have to be there when our citizens need us to be there. When they call, we've got to be responsive and do the best we can. And we will continue to do so. The third thing is probably, in my opinion, at this point, is communication between the city, the businesses, and the citizens. We're entering into a heavy development period for the next 3 to 6, 7 years, particularly in our downtown area, but also, as I mentioned, on the Bethel pathway or roadway. And we've got to do a better job, and we are doing a better job in communicating with our citizens what's going on and how it's going to affect them. But I think that's going to be really critical moving forward, to let folks know, hey, you might want to take a different route to get from A to B for the next 6 to 8 months because of this improvement that's coming. Unfortunately, things have to get worse before they get better. We've got to, as a city, do a better job of communicating and letting our citizens know what's happening.
Great, thank you. So backing up, I guess when I wrote these questions, I didn't particularly put them in order, but what would you say to the statement, we don't need any more apartments or housing developments in Port Orchard?
So how would I answer that question?
Yeah.
Is that what you're?
Yeah. I mean, if I were to say to you, Mark, we don't need any more apartments. We don't need any more housing developments.
Well, living here for 40 plus years like I have, I kind of feel a little bit the same way. I moved over here a long time ago because I loved the quiet, the ruralness that the area offered. However, as I mentioned earlier, we've been found out. Everybody knows what a gem Port Orchard is. So they're coming over here, whether we like it or not. So, we may not need, that might not be the right term. We may not need more housing, more apartments, but the fact of the matter is we do need more housing and more apartments. There's a housing shortage here in Port Orchard, in Kitsap County, in Western Washington, in Washington State, and throughout the U.S. And we've got to build homes and apartments where folks and families can live. So, it puts a lot of stress on our infrastructure, which we've already talked about a little bit. But one of the things I will say that I've seen really as an improvement to having more homes and or apartments being built here is in the last year, we've actually seen the mean price for apartments come down in our city, which is a good thing. When's the last time we could look back a year or two and say prices went down on anything? Well, the fact of the matter is, you can get an apartment this year in Port Orchard for less money than you could in 2021. And that's a good thing. So I guess that's the answer to my long-term answer to my answer to your question, Matt.
So next question, okay. Being the Chamber of Commerce, I got to ask this business question. What role does the city play in economic development, and how can the city help local small businesses become more successful? It's kind of a two-part question. What role does the city play in economic development? And then how can the city help local small businesses be more successful?
Well, I think the city can play an important partnership role with our small businesses. I don't think the city needs to be taking a lead, but needs to work willingly together with our small business organizations, be it the chamber, be it POPSA, as a partner and in trying to make a better community for all of us. And I think, again, I mentioned this earlier, communication is a big one. The city needs to do a better job of communicating what's going on, why it's going on, and when it's going on. I think that will help all the businesses in Port Orchard. For example, downtown businesses right now are going to start seeing parking pinches because of the development, the new Kitsap Bank development, all the other things that are going on downtown. And the city's got to do a better job of communicating with the businesses, letting them know how they can get their people to come to their businesses and support their businesses. The best ways in, the best ways out, the best times to do it, and where they can park. So the city needs to continue to be better partners with our businesses to provide economic development growth.
The last question here is probably the most important, because it is, why are you the best choice for city council?
So this is the time I get to sell myself.
This is it, man. This is it. Why should we vote for you?
Well, I would hope that in the 2 years I've been on the council, folks will look back on that and look at me as being someone who's fiscally responsible. And that's an important factor in today's world. But as a business owner, I have to say, I am the only sitting council person, and I don't believe my opponent at this point is also not a business owner. The people that are sitting on the council don't run their own businesses. And the city of Port Orchard is actually a very large business. And you have to be fiscally responsible, whether you're running your private business or you're running a governmental business. We are responsible to the citizens of our city. And I look at my position on the council as if it's my own business, always looking at a conservative approach, listening to my clients or my citizens, what their concerns are, and trying to make improvements based on their feedback. So if it comes down to it, I'd like the citizens of Port Orchard to make sure that they understand that we need more small business people working within our city. that really have a stake and a knowledge in how to make a business successful. There you go, Matt.
All right. There we go. There we go, everybody. Again, this has been Mark Trenary running for Port Arthur City Council. And I want to remind everybody, as I do at the end of all of these videos, that hopefully you will watch all of them, but the election is on November 9th. There are 5 races within the city, and there are 4 races outside of the city, as well as the school bond that it's going to be on the ballot. Ballots should come out the week of October 20-ish, somewhere in that vicinity, about 2 weeks before the election. I want to encourage everybody to get their ballots, to fill their ballots out, to read the voters pamphlet, to watch the entire video series put out by the Chamber of Commerce, and most importantly, to vote. Vote, get your ballots in, and each of the candidates, whether they win or they lose, they have gone out and they have volunteered their time to participate in the process. They've offered to become city council people, school board people, fire commissioners. I want to thank everybody for stepping out and doing that. Mark, thank you. And again, I just can't stress it enough. Get your ballots, fill them out, send them in. Mark, thanks for joining me. And I look forward to working with you again in the future. And good luck.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. If I could say one final thing.
Okay,
first,
fine.
I'd like to thank you for putting these on. I think this is a great way for the citizens who don't know the candidates to actually get a better feel for who they are. There's other organizations that do similar type things, but they're not open to the public. I think this is a great forum. And I hope our citizens will watch these things. I also want to thank, again, as you did already, I want to thank all the people that have gone out on that limb and are running for a position, be it council, be it school board, be it fire commissioners. We all want the same thing at the end of the day. We all want our cities and our counties, we want the better for those communities. And so I thank everybody who's running. It's very honorable to see folks step up. I wish we had more people stepping up and trying to make a difference. That's all I'm trying to do. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank all the rest of the candidates as well.
Yep, absolutely, Mike. Well said, Mark. I guess with that, we will wrap things up, and I'll see you out and about.
All right, signing off.
All right, thanks.